Oh my gosh. I nearly vomited every time I performed on the show. When Simon Cowell gasped, the world leaned in and Darci Lynne stole everyone's heart. A teenage girl with the voice of an angel in a ventriloquist act worthy of Broadway. Her charm was undeniable. Her talent remarkable. Oscar, the ever-anxious puppet, worried aloud while she beamed with youthful confidence. She didn't just perform, she enchanted. But beneath the flawless smile, the standing ovations, and the golden rain of confetti was a much heavier story, one that few ever talk about. A story of pressure, quiet struggles, and the burden of rising fame carried on the shoulders of a young girl. It's a story that deserves to be heard. Darci Lynne wasn't just another talent show winner, she was a sensation. On May 30, 2017, a date most barely remember, her world changed forever. At just 12 years old, she walked onto the America's Got Talent stage with Petunia, her pink puppet in hand, and a dream in her heart. That day, she was more than nervous. School was calling, homework was piling up, and she'd already missed weeks of class, but nothing could stop what came next. She chose Summertime from Porgy and Bess, a bold, demanding classic. And as Petunia opened her mouth, Darci unleashed a voice so powerful and composed that the entire room fell silent. Was it real? A 12-year-old? Ventriloquizing while delivering soul-shaking notes with crystal clarity? The judges were stunned. The audience held their breath. And then Mel B slammed the golden buzzer, hard. Confetti poured, tears flowed, and in an instant, Darci Lynne was on her way to the live shows. Within just 30 hours, her audition became the most viewed in AGT history. Overnight, a young girl from Oklahoma became a household name. A middle schooler turned global sensation. The title, America's Got Talent Champion, was hers. But behind the camera, things were far more complicated than they appeared. The fame came fast, almost too fast. With a puppet, a big voice, and an even bigger smile, Darci became a symbol of hope and joy. But what no one saw was the toll it took. The public adoration masked the private pressure, and as the lights faded and the crowds moved on, Darci was left to navigate the complexities of youth in a world that demanded perfection. This is what fame does, especially to someone so young. And while her journey is filled with inspiring moments and incredible highs, it's also laced with emotional challenges that deserve to be acknowledged. Darci Lynne is more than a performer. She's a reminder of what happens when childhood dreams collide with global stardom. And her story? It's not just impressive, it's deeply human. Stay with this story. It's not only emotional, but unexpectedly uplifting, and it just might change the way you view talent, fame, and the price of success. Darci kept impressing throughout the competition. Oscar the Shy Mouse and Edna Dornicker were her new puppets, a stubborn old lady who adored Simon Cowell and proved her skills. Her performances were captivating, engaging, and moving. Okay, Oscar. Which of us got the golden buzzer? Petunia. Viewers loved her by the time she sang with My Buddies for her final performance. The results were official on September 20, 2017. America's Got Talent 12 winner Darci Lynne. No ordinary winner. Her AGT finale vote was the highest ever. History-making stuff. Darci Lynne, $1 million winner. This is the thing. Fame rarely brings happiness, especially when it comes so abruptly and for someone so young. The attention Darci received was astonishing. Within weeks, she had millions of social media followers. Interviews, picture shoots, and guest appearances flooded in. She appeared on Ellen DeGeneres' show with Terry Fator and Pentatonix out of nowhere. What started as a 5-city tour became a 52-city countrywide spectacle. Her debut solo show sold out in 6 minutes. Yes, 6 minutes. She offered me pointers, and I practiced in my mirror until it stayed. That's impressive. Not just popularity pandemonium. Even though she was successful, Darci tried to stay grounded. She still had school, friends, and a childhood to preserve. How do you return to math assignments and cafeteria sandwiches when 10 million people saw you on national television? The problem was, no one prepares you for it. Darci returned to Deer Creek Middle School for normalcy. Instead, she faced fresh pressure. She said going back was ridiculous in an interview. She said fresh 8th graders were interested and starstruck. They're all like, "Oh my gosh, Darci Lynne," she added, somewhat smiling. That type of attention day in and day out can weigh on anyone, let alone a growing girl. She wasn't alone. Her brother Nate, who never wanted celebrity, was caught in the crossfire. Darci spoke of coming home frustrated, constantly answering queries about his sister instead of his own life. Can you imagine? Being a teenager trying to find yourself when everyone wants to know about your sibling? Fame wasn't just Darci's problem. It spread to her family. It'll be so much fun. The performance is like family night and day. Darci and her staff compromised to manage everything. To avoid missing school, she traveled on weekends and holidays. It seems smart on paper. What happens when your weekends are full of travel, sound checks, shows, and meet and greets? You have math quizzes, locker gossip, and youngsters requesting for pictures on weekdays? That balance is hard. Quite exhausting. The border between Darci's private and public life slipped steadily. It gets drunk. People wanted to watch my brain activity because I'm thinking of 10 things, however. Where did girl end and performance start? Could she be a child star? Those are hard questions. Even grown-ups struggle to answer. In addition to her ability and success, Darci Lynne's narrative is about the hidden costs of fame, especially when it comes too quickly. What happens after the golden confetti falls, when the lights dim and schoolwork is due the next day? It's a reminder that even the brightest stars might struggle to shine without enough space to be human. Beyond the spotlight, Darci struggles with anxiety and isolation. Darci Lynne's journey was more complicated than anyone watching from their living room could have anticipated, despite the bright lights, viral applause, and dream-come-true story. A confident, joyful ventriloquist with a wonderful voice and charm beyond her years was what most saw. But behind that beautiful smile was a young girl quietly fighting inner storms that fame exacerbated. People frequently think that being famous as a kid is a tremendous ride of bliss and privilege. Darci's narrative shows that the limelight may reveal talent's pressure, fear, and expectations. Before Darci appeared on America's Got Talent, there were clues that her path would be harder than it seemed. Friends from childhood described her as horribly bashful, singing in public. She felt unfit to ascend that mountain. Her parents noticed her deep reserve and understood she had to change to accept her potential. They gently coaxed her into pageantry, not for the glitz, but to help her open up. They entered her in the International Cinderella Scholarship Program to boost her confidence and reduce her performance anxiety. It helped her take those initial daring steps, but it didn't change who she was, a girl who felt deeply and worried often. Winner of America's Got Talent at 12, her life changed overnight. One of my big dreams. I also want to preserve ventriloquism because it's rare. She was a puppeteering, tiny town girl one minute. Next, she was a national treasure. Unfortunately, celebrity doesn't allow for adjustment. She had to be ready, perform, smile, and shoulder the weight of expectations most adults would fall under. She's admitted it. I was 12 and trying to process everything. Handling everything at once was difficult. Can you fathom that whirlwind? You have homework one day. Next, you're being interviewed by national media, flying cross-country, and reading strangers' online reviews. Darci battled skepticism despite millions of fans and sold-out events. Instead of what to wear today, it whispers, maybe you're not good enough. She sometimes wondered if it was a fluke, even while the world was clapping. Maybe it was luck. What if I'm not as good as people think? She pondered. Even after encores and fan letters, imposter syndrome persisted. It remained, subtly questioning her worth as her career rose. Fame rarely mentions that behind every standing ovation may be a frightened heart. Managing her rising celebrity with a regular teenage life was her toughest problem. Darci was on flights, stages, and red carpets, while her peers worried about lunch companions and school dance attire. That would sound exciting, and it was, but she was aching for normalcy. Sometimes I simply wanted to be a kid again, she said. I missed my pals, school dances, and a normal life. Fame opened some doors and quietly closed others. Was it worthwhile? She presumably debated the question several times. The pressure to constantly be the smiling, sweet girl everyone loved on AGT was also there. Darci stated she felt she had to always uphold that image. She claimed she felt like she had to be the cheerful, perfect person everyone loved on AGT. How can you stay flawless when life is messy? Emotions are difficult, and you're growing up. It's no surprise that expectation affected her mental health. She focused on her appearance, words, and the opinions of others. I was always anxious about what others thought of me, and didn't want to disappoint my admirers, she said. Imagine trying to be a teenager with that mental weight. Even school, which should have been stable, became too tough to maintain. Touring, performing, and filming meant missing lots of class. I struggled in public school all year, she said. It was hard to miss so much work and fit it in after touring. Career obligations conflicted with school schedules. She made the difficult decision to homeschool in 8th grade, after much contemplation and back and forth. She admitted it was difficult, but it was the best option. Though tough, that choice gave her the professional and emotional freedom she needed. Darci's family remained her mainstay through these struggles. Knowing how much pressure she was under, her parents sacrificed for her. They abandoned their careers to be her full-time schedule managers and emotional support. She said her parents grounded her. That unquestioning love may have kept her steady in a world that devours young stars. Darci Lynne's story goes beyond a lady with a puppet and a golden buzzer. It explores how skill and pressure meet, and how hard it is to be true to yourself when the world wants you to be somebody else. Her struggle reminds us that behind every brilliant stage, light may be someone quietly struggling to stay whole. Someone who wishes to be a youngster again, despite fame and wealth. Next time someone says, "She's got it all," question, at what cost? That leads to a terrible reality that people are noticing and speaking out about. Public concern grows over Darci's health and emotional toll. Stay here, because what happens next may affect your view of her forever. Public concern grows over Darci's health and emotional toll. Welcome 13-year-old Darci Lynne Farmer, the reigning AGT champion, and Katie, the yodeling cowgirl. Behind Darci Lynne's success came a far darker, more worrisome story. The same teenager who once lit up the stage with energy and a smile was showing symptoms of trouble. Her early America's Got Talent fans saw changes. Initially mild, but enough to raise eyebrows. Was it developing pains or more? Start with small things. Viewers noticed Darci seemed more quiet in interviews. Her effervescent personality seemed to have dimmed, like a dimmer switch had been turned down without everyone noticing. Then came the tired eyes, strained smile, and uncommon but notable missed appearances. On social media, worried followers pieced things together. Comments poured in. She appears weary. Is she okay? Darci seems off recently. The internet fuels supposition, so it spread quickly. Fans fabricated illness and burnout claims based on a hazy photo or a cancelled show. Was the spotlight that once made her shine now draining her away from the cameras? Reality was considerably more complicated. Darci was no longer the adorable girl. A busy schedule of performances, interviews, and rehearsals made her a national star. Pressure persisted. Darci's symptoms were unmistakable, according to friends. Chronic fatigue became more than just tiredness. It felt exhausted. She told close friends she couldn't get out of bed some mornings. Sleep couldn't lift her tiredness. Frequent headaches increased. Restless nights. Her voice, her best asset, was strained and worn thin from performing. But the cost was more than physical. Darci sank emotionally. She started having more panic attacks without warning. Imagine the fear of having your chest tighten and breath shorten before performing for thousands. She felt stuck between fame's demands and her body and mind's cries for rest. Her puppets, which had helped her come out of her shell, suddenly felt like a burden she had to carry everywhere. Her family helped greatly during this. Always cautious, her parents understood change was needed. They took her back to protect her from the internet and an industry that can be cruel to even adults, let alone a teenage girl. They reduced her social media activity, declined many interview requests, and created a buffer zone. It wasn't hiding her. To save her, her mother said their primary desire was to put their daughter's well-being before public life. They also hired professionals, psychiatrists, counselors, and medics to help Darci through the toughest period of her short career. What happens after the applause stops and the lights dim? Darci Lynne needed time to reflect and recover. Her loved ones recognized it was time to prioritize her health and happiness over performance, even if fans missed her. Isn't that what matters? Peace, healing, and love matter after the curtain closes and the applause fades. Darci's daring choice led to a quiet rebirth, self-discovery, and an incredible metamorphosis that still touches hearts today. Stick around, because what's next isn't simply a fresh chapter, it may change you. Darci reinvents and inspires. Darci Lynne's narrative is more than a lovely tale about a brilliant girl and her puppet. It's about the quiet strength needed to grow up in the spotlight, the confusion of not knowing who you are when the world thinks it does, and the bravery to reinvent yourself when everyone expects you to stay the same. Remember when 2-year-old Darci Lynne wowed the world with her big voice and charisma? She and her puppet Petunia won hearts on America's Got Talent and showed people pure delight. Petunia, we're thrilled to return to the stage. Yeah. What happens as the youngster grows up and wonders if she's more than what folks saw then? In 2024, 9-year-old Darci did something unusual. She returned to AGT. Darci, everyone would question me. What are you going to do with the $1 million if you win? On AGT. No longer the small girl with the puppet, but a young woman with something else to convey. Is she anxious? Absolutely. Before her America's Got Talent Fantasy League performance, she said, "I feel like I have to live up to what I performed when I was 12, but I don't want to be boxed in." That one line said a lot, right? Because how many people feel trapped by others' expectations? Darci risked performing "I've Got the Music in Me" and set Petunia down. Instead, she played guitar and proved she wasn't just a ventriloquist. She was an artist ready to establish herself. This creative fire sprang from where? Interestingly, it began during the pandemic, a quiet and uncertain time. Darci, like many others, was stuck at home, unsure what to do. She said she didn't know what to do after 2 years away from home. How unsettling could that have been for someone who spent most of her adolescence on stage or in front of cameras? She leaned into the calm instead of letting it consume her. So she taught herself music writing. No major pronouncements, no press coverage, just a young woman exploring her potential in her room. Isn't that lovely? That exploration opened new creative doors. Darci collaborated with Oklahoma musicians Maggie McClure and Shane Henry to release her debut track, Push Our Luck, on the 5th of February, 2024. Light and appealing, the song captures the butterflies and nervous energy of young love. Darci said it was inspired by first date sentiments. It's genuine, relevant, and sounds like it came from someone who's being herself. She was creative beyond that. In 2022, Darci co-starred in Netflix's A Cowgirl's Song. After all, it fit naturally. She's from Oklahoma, and the job helped her combine music and performance in a new way. She then produced Push Our Luck, which won Best Music Video 2024 at the Los Angeles Film Awards. Darci was more than her music's face. She shaped its vision behind the scenes. She's not slowing. Her current deep pop song, Someone Wake Me Up, showcased her fresh voice, greater emotion and depth. I perform to make others happy and smile. She's also creating a 2025 touring performance that combines all her talents: singing, writing, storytelling, and ventriloquism. She's no longer the puppet girl on her terms. A young woman with a tale to tell and the voice to tell it her way. Is this happening to me? I recall going to bed that night thinking my life would never be the same. What does Darci Lynne's story teach us? That growth is okay. That change is okay. Most importantly, that taking risks is okay, even when people urge you to stay the same. Because sometimes people don't remember your best self. You're becoming it. Darci is doing that too, beginning a new chapter as a performer and voice and platform user. I saw ventriloquism at church when I was 5. For more than ventriloquism or viral fame. So don't blink. Stay clicked. Her next actions, especially for children and mental health, may be her most powerful. Darci advocates for children and mental health. Beyond the brilliant stage lights and deafening acclaim of sold-out arenas, Darci Lynne has quietly shown that her heart is as huge as her talent. She's best known for her ventriloquism prowess on America's Got Talent, but she has another side that deserves more attention. She chooses to utilize her platform to heal, uplift, and make a difference where it counts most. Darci has already woven her name into compassionate, creative environments at an early age. A visit to Seacrest Studios at Children's Hospital of Orange County sticks out throughout her experience. With her favorite puppets Petunia and Oscar, she lighted up the room with something stronger than spotlights or special effects. Kindness and connection. Darci's performance was more than a vacation for the children, many of whom had long-term ailments. Joy, normalcy, and a reassurance that someone cared were present. That must have meant a lot to those youngsters, even for a moment. That's not everything. Darci didn't leave the hospital for the next episode. Instead, she participated in several causes. She spoke out for Horses for Mental Health, which employs horse therapy to aid mental health patients. She supported a campaign with Dennis Quaid and others that won hearts but not headlines. She expressed thanks for being part of something so significant, stating she was grateful to show how horses can improve mental health.